Good day, and welcome to Narayan's Weekly Wraps. I am Govinda. This week we're going to cover the US shutdown, earnings season, and in our AI/tech segment we look at two different things. Firstly, the Friend device that's just been released, as well as Sora 2 from OpenAI. So let's just start with this US shutdown and explain to you what's been happening there. So the US system has a particular quirk in it where, firstly, you need usually bipartisan support. That means both parties, at least some of people from the opposition party, have to join you to get certain things passed in government. And then the second part is that they have a regular, increase in spending that needs to be kind of approved by the whole government, effectively, the Congress, Senate, etc. And when basically we have a situation in which bipartisanship is very low and the amount of partisanship, which means that the disagreements between the Republicans and Democrats is very high. We do have a situation in which the party that's not in power, in this case the Democrats, step in and say, we're not going to approve any more spending. We'll have to force you to shut down the government until you give us what we want. It's kind of like a blackmail technique. It happens regularly, threats of shutdown, but the last one we had really was in 2019. Who was the president back in 2019? Trump. Okay, so you can see what's been happening here. The Democrats really don't like Donald Trump, and you're not going to find many Democrats basically willing to switch over to join Trump or Trump's team or party in passing a resolution to allow most things to happen, and therefore they want to shut down the government, or the government is being shut down because of this. This is a political play. The aim of the party in opposition is twofold. Firstly, of course, to try and blackmail or try and pressure the party in power to do what they want. It's a way to kind of leverage your limited power. So you can't get everything you want, but you can maybe focus on one or two things that you think are really important and say, okay, you have to do these two things or this thing, and I will basically then support you. You can have everything else you want, but I want these couple of things. Okay. It's also basically a way to kind of make the party in power look weak, or make people blame them for the shutdown, because the shutdown is going to cause some pain. People are not going to have income, so you can have over millions of people basically not paying any money working with the federal government, and those people do vote, and their families vote, and that's obviously negative. But this will also provide services, and those services, if they shut down, people that rely on those services don't get those services, and therefore that also increases the amount of negativity out there. The Democrats basically are trying to paint this as Trump, wants to cut, healthcare spending to give, tax cuts to the rich. Trump is trying to frame this as the Democrats want healthcare for illegal immigrants, okay, non-documented immigrants, or whatever you call them, to be covered. And of course, from Trump's point of view, illegal immigrants is a very strong point. He's way ahead of the polls on that. From the Democrats' point of view, healthcare is a very important point, and they're way ahead of the polls on that. And they are just trying to play the game of who's going to be the first to blink. Okay, the Democrats hoping that Trump is going to blink because he doesn't want to be seen as being, punishing his people and people being hurt, etc., etc. Trump wants the Democrats to blink because he doesn't want to be seen as being weak and doesn't want to be, falling to the pressure, that kind of stuff. Now, an additional quirk to this, additional kind of wrinkle to this, is that Trump doesn't like the federal government that much. I mean, remember Doge? It's been a few months, but Doge back in the day with Elon Musk and cutting government spending. And Trump is openly discussed as this may be an opportunity to fire maybe a few 100,000, 300,000, maybe 800,000. There's kind of variation on what he's been threatening, but hundreds of thousands of workers. And if you consider the fact that about 1.7 million people, civilians basically work for the federal government, you have to discount the army and so on. That is a pretty big chunk of the federal government he's willing to cut. The Democrats don't want that. The Democrats are much more government friendly. They're much more, in favor of government. Number one, and number two, the people that work for government almost, by a huge margin vote Democratic. It's far more Democratic than the population at large. So if he does go ahead and do this, he's going to hurt Democrats more than he's going to hurt Republicans. That's number one. From the other side, the Democrats basically, these Democratic politicians have a bit of a problem. The last time they approved something for Trump, they got really a lot of backlash. The guy in charge of the Senate, which is there's three houses, of course, there's the Congress, the Senate, and there's the presidency. The Democrat in charge of the Democrat part of the Senate, they're obviously not in power in the Senate, but they have a division, they have a group there. And the guy in charge of the group is a guy called Chuck Schumer. He's the Democrat from New York City. He's been basically the leader of also for a while now, and he's been a senator for like 26 years. So he's been there for a long time. Now, he has been painted as being weak, not being willing to stand up to Trump. Even relatively moderate, commentators, people like Ezra Klein from the New York Times have come out and said, no, you need to stand up to Trump. You need to basically push him on the shutdown, etc. So Schumer basically has that pressure. He's in a very, very safe Democratic seat. Like I said, he's been there for 20-something years. You would think that gives him more power, but actually it doesn't. Why? Because when you're in a very safe seat, your party becomes more important than the electorate as a whole. And the party is usually more left-wing or right-wing than the electorate as a whole. So there's more extremists in the party than there is in the overall electorate. So Chuck Schumer, who's much more moderate, is facing a lot of challenges from his own party. And there's a threat that somebody's going to try and primary him. So they'll basically kick him out before he even gets to the election and say, you're not running as a Democrat for New York. This person here is running for Democrat for New York, and you get kicked out. And we've already seen that happen with the left wing in the New York City mayoral race, where a guy called Zoran Mandami, who is a very, very left-wing person. He wants to do some have a government-run grocery stores and stuff like that. Really, really left-wing. Oh, by the way, he's South African in a roundabout way. He kind of grew up in South Africa. We punch above our weight. Go fast. Anyway, so Zoran Mandani, basically very left-wing, kicked out or beat a guy that's probably much more, in line with the electorate than he is. Maybe, and he's going to probably win the U.S. Also the New York City mayoral race. Now, something similar could happen to Chuck Schumer in the next, Senate election. He may be, easily able to win the overall race, but he won't get a chance to run because he'll be kicked out before that by somebody from the left wing in the primary, and so he's very, very incentivized not to buckle on this. What does this mean? Trump really doesn't feel the same kind of pain that most people in power would feel if the government shut down, and the Democrats at the moment, the people in charge of it, have to show that they have a backbone. A longer shutdown than we normally expect. And we've already seen, I think, betting has gone from about 9 days to over 2 weeks at the moment in terms of how long people expect the shutdown to last. It could last even a bit longer. Now, the first couple of days, it means nothing, but over time, the shutdown will have an impact on the US economy and the world as well. Or some of the simple things, like for instance, we were supposed to get non-farm payroll figures. You can't get that without the government working. Over time, we will see more and more of these things happening where we don't get information from the government, we don't get service from the government, etc. in the US, and that will obviously over time cause more and more problems. Not immediately, but it will cause problems eventually. But the thing that I want to point out here, and which is more important, is that we are getting into a point where bipartisanship, agreement between the different parties is getting more and more limited. And that means we're going to expect these shutdowns to be a more common event going forward. When Trump goes in 3 years' time, and there's still 3 years, a long time for this to happen again and again, the person replacing him is probably going to be someone like J.D. Vance, who's also pretty right-wing. And the person running the other side is probably going to be someone like Gavin Newsom or AOC, who are very left-wing. Neither of these people are going to be very attractive to the other side. So what we are seeing is that we are likely to see these shutdowns continue going forward. And globally, we've seen bipartisanship also come under greater and greater pressure. In France, Macron's government has just lost no confidence vote. In the UK, Labour just won one of the biggest majorities ever in history, and it's still, at the same time, one of the most unpopular governments ever in history in the UK. It's a weird quirk of how they basically ran that election. The opponent at the time was even more popular than them. And they basically, the votes were split among various parties, etc., etc. So there's a weird quirk there. The number one party right now in the UK, if there was a vote held today, was probably going to be Farage's party, which has like 5 seats at the moment. AFD, which is in Germany, very right-wing party, probably would win, be the largest party in the next election if they had the election like tomorrow. In Japan, we just saw the prime minister being replaced. What I'm saying to you is that we are having more and more political instability happening, and whatever cracks in the system are going to be, for instance, in the US, it's this shutdown system. In the French system, it's the no confidence vote, etc., etc. And the UK system is the fact that it's first past the vote, the post, and therefore that means that a party could go from nowhere, from 5 seats, to being the majority party, would not a huge change in the electorate. You wouldn't think to go from 5 to being getting hundreds of seats. You would think you would need multiple times more votes. No, if basically Reform had maybe say 10% more votes, they'd probably be the biggest party in the UK. That's not a lot, you know what I mean? So yeah, that is the kind of situation we're dealing with. In that environment, a safe haven is going to be very important for you people, and that's why I think that people who are looking around and say, why is gold going up so much and so on? I think this is partly explaining it. Of course, we do have the situation with Trump and tariffs and what's been happening around there, but I think that we're entering a period of higher political instability. Governments are going to be finding it more difficult to do things that are reasonable, like for instance, trying to balance their budgets and so on, and that is going to mean that safe havens are going to be looking a lot more attractive. Now, moving on to earnings season, we're about to hit the heart of earnings season next couple of weeks, and I will say to you this, for any particular stock, the earnings matter a lot more than any kind of outside event. It doesn't matter if the economy is booming. If your company is making a loss, your stock is probably going to fall. It doesn't matter if the economy is flat or stagnant or even falling. If you're making gangbuster profits, you're probably going to rise. And so watch the earnings season numbers coming over the next couple of weeks. We'll discuss them as they come out. We've had some, for instance, sales numbers from Tesla recently that are reasonably good. But I think let's just watch what's been happening in the earnings season to see just what the impact of the economy has been. I think this is a better indication as to the strength of the market than some of the economic numbers we've been getting, just because the economic numbers we've been getting have been unreliable. We've had revisions that are quite significant. We've even had now recently a replacement of people in charge of collecting those numbers. So I would really look at these earnings releases as being a clearer idea, or give us a clearer idea what's happening with the US economy and other global economies than any kind of government numbers at the moment. Okay. Now moving on to the AI segment. Firstly, I want to talk about something called the Friend device. The Friend device is basically a little pennant around your neck. It's supposed to watch everything you do. There's a camera there. It's supposed to listen to everything you say and what's happening around you. And then it's supposed to create an entity or a character that's your friend. Now, the particular device we talked about is very bad. It's not useful in real terms. I've seen examples of it, and it does not look very good. That won't be the case in 5 years' time. If someone is willing to do this in 5 years' time, with the technology that's likely to be available in 5 years' time, this is going to be a very, very powerful thing. And even today, I think there is a certain segment of the population who are going to fall for this Friend device. It's a pretty expensive device. It costs hundreds of dollars. But it's a friend. It's something that basically people that are lonely are going to turn to for companionship. And if you don't think that's something that is a danger, look at the number of people that have dogs and cats that they treat as children. In the US and many parts of the developed world, people spend more on pet food than do on baby food. So I do expect this to really find a growing part of the consumer spend over the next few years. I don't know exactly what the legal requirements are going to be, because imagine having something that records everything you say and do as well what happens around you without any particularly strong government protection. The privacy and other kind of dangers are quite high. But I think as a concept, this is if you watch back in Wall Street, the first Wall Street movie, where Michael Douglas has this gigantic cell phone. You can kind of see the future. And this is what I'm saying to you. This particular device, it's useless right now. It's like that gigantic brick of a cell phone that Douglas had, 40 years ago in the 1980s. What cell phones are today, the Friends or something similar to that will be in the future. And I'm not talking 40 years in the future, maybe in the next decade or so, where you're going to see something that is going to be, living up to the dream that this is promising. Next, we had Sora 2 being released. Sora 2 is the next video program from OpenAI. By the way, for anyone that tells you AI is stagnating, go back and look at the Will Smith eating spaghetti video from a couple of years ago. And it's only been a couple of years, and look at the latest videos you get from Sora 2. The difference is stark. Sora 2 is already at the point where, unless they do something weird, like the person transforms to something or some weird event happens in the video, you can't for certain say it's an AI video or not. We're already at that point. We've already passed the point at which it's like, oh, one look and it's AI or not. This is kind of like where photos were a couple of years ago. Now photos are at the point where you can't spot them. I mean, well done AI photos are now not spottable. You can't make it up as a human being. And I think that's going to be where we're going to be with video in the next year or so. So imagine in the next year, you cannot trust video evidence anymore. And I think that is, just showing how fast the progress has been from being an unsolved problem 3 years ago to being completely solved next year, 4 years. And that's video. And that's not something I would have thought before this happened that was going to be taking 4 years to solve. So yeah, it's a very, very big step up. I think it's also going to push Google to release something in the next week or so. They have a video thing as well. And what you must understand is that right now, if you try and do like silly things on Sora 2, like you try and make a video of a fat person jumping over a bridge and dying effectively, the machine is going to basically put a pillow under the person and make it a bit of a jokey kind of thing as opposed to a gore kind of thing. That's not going to last. You are going to see videos that are, passing any kind of reasonable level of decency in the next couple of years as we see the technology spread. And you can idea how quickly the technology spreads here. Like GPT-3, okay, we're in GPT-5, so it's been about a couple of years. GPT-3 is fallen from the first time it was introduced by around about 2,000 times, not 2,000%, 2,000 times. To give you an idea, if something cost you $100, back when GPT-3 was first released, okay, it'll cost you only about 5 cents right now, okay. That is the difference. Okay, 5 cents to $100 in about 2 or 3 years. Okay, if you look at what Sora is costing you right now, imagine what cost you like $100 worth of Sora, times, and it'll cost you 5 cents in 2-3 years time. Now, OpenAI is not going to have a monopoly on Sora at that point in time, or Sora-like products at that kind of time. We'll really see Google and Anthropic and all the other guys like having reasonable catch up with OpenAI. But once this stuff gets more and more widespread in a couple of years time, when the Chinese models, the DeepSeek of video, etc., comes out, those are open source models. Those have no restrictions. If they have restrictions and they're created, you can take them out because it's open source. And so I do expect that we are going to get videos over the next say 2-3 years or so that are going to really, really be pushing the line, causing difficulties not just from the point of decency but also the point of political accusations and so on. There's already been one of the most popular things out there has been a video of Sam Altman, a CCTV video, pretending to shoplift. Okay, now, obviously it's a joke, but if you look at that video, I mean, if he didn't do the weird thing at the end, I wouldn't know. Replace Sam Altman with some person of whatever race you put there, have a cop of another race kill him. That's going to be a thing that could spark something off. Replace that person with a young female of whatever majority group in some Asian or African country, and have somebody of another minority group attack her, and you can imagine what happens there. We've really seen this happen with real videos. We saw recently in the US where some Ukrainian, a young Ukrainian lady was killed, and that video was quite shocking and that caused a lot of uproar. We've seen that happen in the UK. We've seen that happen in Europe. We've also seen that happen in places like India, okay, where video of certain events have caused communal violence and so on. Expect this to rise dramatically over the next couple of years because we are not going to be able to spot this stuff. But yeah, just watch out for this thing. The trends are pretty clear. A friend kind of device, probably not made by the same company that makes Friend, but something similar to that, I think, will be the new cell phone, before robotics, because it's not that difficult to do. And the second thing is that we have emerged at the age where video is not trustworthy anymore, and I think that we have to take, cognizance of that fact that we are going to be seeing basically an indistinguishable AI video in the next couple of years. Okay, that's it for this week. Thanks for joining me. Look forward to speaking again next week. Cheers.